Over 50 and thinking about trying the sumo squat every day? Before you decide, let me tell you something most people never hear. There is one lower body movement that quietly transforms balance, reshapes your legs and core, protects your joints, and even helps reverse some of the effects of aging. And it's probably not the exercise you expect. In fact, most people over 50 overlook it completely. But if you start doing it daily, something interesting begins to happen. Not just in how you move, but in how you stand, how you feel, and even how confidently you tackle the little things in your day. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what happens to your body if you start doing the sumo squat every single day after 50. What changes to expect, what benefits sneak up on you, and what mistakes you need to avoid so you get results without hurting yourself. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll know whether this one movement deserves a place in your daily routine. The sumo squat stands out as one of the most effective and surprisingly joint-friendly lower body exercises, and its value becomes even more obvious once you cross the age of 50. When you widen your stance, turn your toes slightly outward, and lower yourself into that controlled position, you immediately change how your body handles the movement compared to a traditional squat. Instead of dumping pressure onto the knees or forcing the lower back to pick up the slack, the sumo squat distributes your weight in a way that feels more natural for hips that may not have the same mobility they once did. People over 50 often deal with tight hip flexors, stiff ankles, and reduced rotational range, and this wider stance quietly compensates for those limitations. The beauty of the sumo squat is that it doesn't require heavy weights or athletic experience to be effective. It simply requires using your body the way it's meant to move, giving you strength without strain and stability without discomfort. As you age, you become more aware of how important it is to protect the joints that carry you through the day. You start noticing knee clicking when you stand up, a pinch in the hip when you climb stairs, or tightness in the lower back after sitting for too long. Many exercises that are perfectly fine in your 30s or 40s start to feel a little less forgiving later on. This is where the sumo squat shines because it naturally shifts the workload toward the stronger muscles of the glutes and inner thighs, while reducing forward knee pressure. When your feet are set wider, your knees track in a safer line, and your hips take on more of the movement, which is exactly what you want as you try to preserve knee cartilage and avoid unnecessary inflammation. This joint-friendly structure makes it a sustainable movement, something you can repeat daily without feeling like you're grinding your joints down. Another reason the sumo squat becomes so valuable after 50 is the specific muscle engagement it promotes. Regular squats certainly have their place, but the sumo variation activates important stabilizing muscles that tend to weaken with age. The glute medius, inner thighs, deep hip stabilizers, and lower core all come into play. These muscles are responsible for keeping your pelvis level, supporting your spine, and helping you maintain balance in everyday movements. When they weaken, your risk of falls, lower back pain, and hip issues increases dramatically. The sumo squat becomes like insurance for those muscles, keeping them active and responsive. By targeting them in a way that feels controlled and steady, you make your body more resilient, more balanced, and less prone to those small but disruptive injuries that tend to appear as the decades pass. What also makes the sumo squat unique is how accessible it is, even for people who haven't trained in years. You don't need equipment, you don't need a gym, and you don't need a high level of flexibility to start. In fact, the movement itself gradually improves your flexibility, opening the hips, stretching the inner thighs, and encouraging better ankle mobility. It's a movement that meets you where you are and slowly increases your capacity without forcing you into uncomfortable positions. Many people over 50 find that when they try to do a regular, narrow squat, they instantly feel tension in their knees or they lean too far forward and strain the lower back. But when they switch to a sumo stance, the discomfort eases and the squat suddenly feels possible again. That difference alone makes the sumo squat a practical choice for long-term consistency, which is ultimately what creates results. There's also a structural advantage to this exercise that helps protect the spine. As people get older, spinal discs lose hydration, posture changes, and the lower back can become a vulnerable area. The sumo squat, with its emphasis on keeping the torso upright and the pressure sitting deeper in the hips, reduces the typical back strain that some experience in regular squats. When performed slowly and deliberately, it trains the core to stay braced, the pelvis to stay stable, and the upper body to remain balanced over the legs instead of collapsing forward.
Over time, this builds the kind of functional strength that supports everything from lifting grocery bags to getting up from a chair to stepping confidently over uneven ground. Even at a metabolic level, the sumo squat makes sense for someone over 50. Muscle mass naturally decreases with age, and that decline directly affects your metabolism, posture, and energy levels. Because the sumo squat recruits large muscle groups, especially the glutes, it sends a strong signal to the body to keep building and preserving muscle. More muscle means better calorie burn throughout the day, better blood sugar regulation, and a greater sense of physical capability. It becomes a small daily habit that reinforces your body's ability to stay strong and functional rather than slipping into decline. The more you practice the sumo squat, the more your brain-body connection improves as well. This exercise demands coordination, balance, and controlled movement, which strengthens your neuromuscular pathways. For someone over 50, maintaining this connection is critical for preventing falls and staying quick on your feet. When your body learns how to stabilize itself in a wide stance, control depth, and push up through strong hips, that control carries into your walking pattern, your posture, and your everyday mobility. It's not just about leg strength, it's about teaching your entire lower body to work together smoothly. And what makes all of this even better is that the sumo squat can be progressed or modified to suit your needs. You can hold on to a chair for balance, reduce your depth, or slow the movement down for better control. You can gradually increase the number of reps as your confidence grows. It accommodates soreness, stiffness, or past injuries while still giving you meaningful results. It's the kind of exercise that respects your age while still challenging your strength in the most beneficial way possible.
When you start doing sumo squats every day after the age of 50, something important begins to shift in the way your body feels and functions. Because this movement hits the exact muscles that tend to weaken the fastest as you get older. These muscles are the ones that keep you balanced, stable, and able to move confidently through your day without stiffness or hesitation. The sumo squat builds strength where aging tries to take it away. It targets the glutes, the inner thighs, the hips, and the deep core muscles that wrap around your midsection like a natural support belt. These muscle groups play a massive role in your daily movement patterns, even if you don't think about them. When they stay strong, you walk better, stand taller, climb stairs with more ease, and feel more grounded when you move. When they weaken, everything from standing up out of a chair to keeping your balance on uneven ground becomes harder and riskier. One of the biggest advantages of the sumo squat is its ability to strengthen the inner thighs and hips, two areas that weaken dramatically with age. Most people don't realize how much these muscles influence their ability to stay steady on their feet. Weak inner thighs mean your knees drift inward when you walk or squat, which increases strain and leads to joint pain. Weak hips make you sway when you walk, stumble more often, and put more pressure on your lower back. But when you perform sumo squats, you directly activate these stabilizer muscles in a way that normal squats don't. The wide stance forces them to wake up, work harder, and support your movement. Over time, that consistent engagement creates a foundation of strength that helps you stay balanced and reduces your risk of falls, which become a major concern once you cross 50. The glutes also play a crucial role in healthy aging, and the sumo squat gives them no choice but to grow stronger. Your glutes are responsible for almost everything you do that involves power. Getting up from the ground, lifting objects, rising from a chair, climbing stairs, even maintaining a stable posture while you walk. When these muscles weaken, everyday movement becomes less efficient and more tiring. Many people over 50 experience lower back pain, not because their back is the problem, but because their glutes are no longer doing their share of the work. With the sumo squat, the wide position shifts more emphasis onto the glute muscles, helping them activate more fully and consistently. As they grow stronger, they pick up the workload that the back and knees often try to handle. That means less strain, fewer aches, and a noticeable improvement in how powerful and supported your lower body feels. Another major benefit comes from the way the sumo squat engages the deep core muscles. These are not the six-pack muscles that you see in the mirror. These are the muscles underneath that stabilize your spine and keep your body aligned. When they weaken, your posture collapses, your lower back compensates, and your balance suffers. The sumo squat requires stability to perform correctly. You have to brace your core to stay upright, control your descent, and push back up without wobbling. This daily demand teaches your core to stay switched on, helping you build a strong, functional midsection. A stronger core means better posture, less back discomfort, and more control over your movement, all of which matter tremendously as the years go by. What's interesting is that the sumo squat doesn't just build strength, it also improves mobility in the hips and groin area. Tight hips are one of the most common issues people over 50 deal with, and they affect more than just flexibility. Tight hips change how you walk, pull on the lower back, and make bending or twisting uncomfortable. The wide stance of the sumo squat gently opens the hips, stretches the inner thighs, and encourages better joint movement. When you do this consistently, your hips begin to loosen up, your stride improves, and your legs move with more freedom. This mobility improvement also supports better circulation and reduces stiffness, making your lower body feel more alive and less restricted. Daily sumo squats also help keep the neurological connection between your brain and your muscles strong. This connection tends to weaken with age, especially in muscles that aren't used often. The sumo squat requires coordination between your hips, knees, ankles, and core. With repeated practice, your body becomes more efficient at firing these muscles in the right sequence. This translates to smoother, more confident movement in your everyday life. You'll feel more stable when stepping off a curb, more controlled when lowering yourself into a chair, and more responsive if you ever misstep or lose balance for a moment. That kind of stability gives you confidence to move without fear, which is incredibly important as you age. Another underrated benefit is how the sumo squat contributes to functional strength. Functional strength is the type of strength you use every day, not just in the gym. It's the strength you need to pick up your grandkids, carry groceries, garden, walk uphill, or push furniture around. When the muscles involved in these movements stay active and strong, you feel capable and independent. Losing functional strength is one of the biggest reasons people start feeling old long before they actually are. By engaging large muscle groups consistently, the sumo squat helps prevent that decline. It promotes strength that translates directly to real-life movement, and that makes a huge difference in maintaining your lifestyle and freedom. The sumo squat also helps balance out muscular imbalances that naturally develop with age. Most people favor one side of their body without realizing it. This creates uneven muscle development, leading to joint stress, pain, or posture problems. The sumo squat forces both sides of the body to work together more evenly because the wide stance demands symmetrical effort. As both sides strengthen equally, your movement becomes more balanced, reducing the strain that comes from overusing one side of the body. And finally, the consistency of doing sumo squats every day helps create momentum for better aging. When you do an exercise that makes you feel stronger, more stable, and more mobile, it encourages you to stay active in general. You begin noticing that your body responds to effort. You feel more confident in your physical abilities. You start moving with more energy and less hesitation. That mental shift alone is powerful. It reminds you that even after 50, your muscles can grow, your balance can improve, your mobility can increase, and your strength can continue to build. Your body is not working against you. You simply need movements that work with your body, not against it. When you start doing sumo squats every day after the age of 50, one of the first changes you'll notice is how much easier your body begins to move. That constant stiffness in the hips, the tight feeling in the inner thighs, and the slow, heavy sensation in your legs when you first stand up in the morning start to fade gradually. Most people don't realize that a lot of the discomfort they feel as they get older doesn't come from age itself, but from muscles and joints that simply aren't being used the way they should be. The sumo squat opens the hips in a way that very few exercises can. The wide stance forces the hip joint to move through a deeper, more natural range of motion, gently encouraging the surrounding muscles and connective tissues to stretch and wake up. Even if your hips feel stiff at the beginning, the repeated movement slowly releases that tension, And this improvement in hip mobility changes everything about how your lower body functions. Mobility isn't just about being flexible. It's about being able to move without restriction. When your hips become more mobile, your entire lower body starts to feel lighter and more coordinated. Walking becomes smoother, your steps feel more natural, and you don't have that awkward moment of trying to warm up your joints every time you stand up. The sumo squat helps to lubricate the hip joint by getting synovial fluid moving, which allows your joints to glide more easily. Over time, this reduces that grinding or pinching feeling that often shows up with age. Many people over 50 notice that tasks like tying their shoes, stepping into a car, or squatting down to pick something up become noticeably easier once their hips loosen up from consistent practice. Another powerful benefit of daily sumo squats is how they affect the knees, even if you're someone who has struggled with knee discomfort for years. Because the stance is wider and the knees track outward instead of inward, you're taking pressure off the knee joint and allowing the bigger, stronger hip muscles to absorb more of the load. This shift is a huge relief for people with arthritis or past knee injuries. The sumo squat builds the muscles around the knee without grinding into the joint itself. When those surrounding muscles get stronger, they support the knee better, meaning you experience less stiffness and less soreness. Even your balance improves because stable knees play a critical role in helping you stay steady on your feet. As your mobility improves, everyday tasks start to feel effortless again. Climbing stairs doesn't leave your legs burning, sitting and standing becomes smoother, and walking for long periods feels more natural. Many people underestimate how much easier life becomes when you have stronger, more mobile hips and legs. That sense of sluggishness or heaviness that can come with age often disappears, replaced by a feeling of freedom in your movement. You may find yourself standing taller without even noticing because improved hip mobility helps your pelvis align better, which in turn helps your spine stay in a more neutral position. What's even more interesting is the effect sumo squats have on overall lower body circulation. When you move through a wide squat position, the muscles of the inner thighs, glutes, hamstrings, and calves contract and relax rhythmically. This pumping action encourages better blood flow, helping to move stagnant blood out of the legs and allow fresh oxygen to circulate. For many people over 50 who struggle with swelling or that heavy leg sensation, this is a game changer. Improved circulation helps reduce tightness, supports better tissue health, and even brings more energy into your legs as you go about your day. Because the sumo squat relies heavily on proper alignment, doing it regularly teaches your body to move in a more controlled and intentional way. You start becoming more aware of how your feet are positioned, how your knees track, how your hips shift, and how your core engages. This improved awareness carries over into everything else you do. You'll notice that you walk with better posture, you turn more smoothly, and you feel more coordinated when you reach or bend. These improvements are subtle at first, but they build up into a noticeable difference in how comfortable you feel navigating your day. The sumo squat also trains the muscles responsible for lateral movement, something that declines rapidly with age. Most people only move forward and backward in their daily lives, but the wide stance of the sumo squat forces the hips and legs to work side to side as well. This develops the muscles of the inner and outer thighs that stabilize your pelvis. When these muscles get stronger, everyday movements like stepping sideways, turning quickly, or adjusting your stance become easier and safer. This is one of the key reasons sumo squats help prevent falls. You don't just get stronger, you get more agile. Another reason this movement reduces stiffness is the way it trains the lower back and core to work in harmony with the hips. Many people over 50 experience aches in the lower back simply because their hips are tight and their core isn't doing its job effectively. The sumo squat encourages a tall, upright torso and a controlled descent, which teaches your core muscles to support the spine. As your hips loosen and your core strengthens, the lower back stops compensating for weak or tight areas. That leads to less tension and fewer aches during daily activities. Even your stride changes when you improve lower body mobility. Tight hips often create shorter steps, reduced rotation, and a walking pattern that feels stiff or robotic. When you open the hips through daily sumo squats, your legs naturally take longer, more fluid steps. Walking becomes less tiring because your muscles are working efficiently instead of resisting tightness. This kind of improvement builds on itself. Better movement leads to more activity leads to stronger muscles,
And stronger muscles lead to greater mobility. What many people love most is the sense of ease they start to feel when moving through their day. Bending doesn't feel like a chore, sitting down doesn't require bracing yourself, getting out of bed in the morning doesn't come with that slow, careful first step. The sumo squat loosens the areas that aging tries to tighten, strengthens the areas that aging tries to weaken, and creates a fluidity of movement that makes you feel younger in your body, no matter your age.
When you make sumo squats a daily habit after the age of 50, you're doing more than just strengthening your legs. You're actively fighting one of the biggest challenges of aging, the slow, steady decline of muscle mass and metabolism. After 50, your body naturally begins losing muscle at a faster rate unless you intentionally challenge it. This process, called sarcopenia, doesn't just affect how strong you feel, it affects your energy level, your posture, your balance, and your overall health. The sumo squat, because it activates some of the largest muscles in your body, sends a powerful message to your system to hold on to muscle and even build more. Every time you perform this movement, your glutes, hamstrings, inner thighs, and core engage intensely, and these muscles demand energy, support, and oxygen. That demand alone stimulates the body to keep producing muscle fibers rather than letting them break down. When your muscles stay active and strong, your metabolism gets a natural boost because muscle tissue burns more calories at rest than fat does. This is why people who keep strong legs and glutes as they age often seem to maintain a healthier weight and a more consistent energy levels. The sumo squat also influences your posture in a surprising way. Poor posture becomes more common with age due to weakened glute muscles, tight hip flexors, and a core that's lost some of its responsiveness. When you practice the sumo squat daily, you naturally strengthen the muscles that keep your pelvis aligned and your spine supported. The wide stance encourages your hips to open, your torso to stay upright, and your core to grace. Over time, your body starts carrying itself differently. You stand taller without even thinking about it. Your shoulders roll back more naturally. Your lower back doesn't have to work overtime. These subtle improvements add up to a huge difference in how your body feels and how people perceive your presence. Good posture not only helps you look more confident, but also improves your breathing, digestion, and circulation, because everything in your torso has more space to function properly. Another powerful change that comes from daily sumo squats is the way your body begins to handle resistance and movement. When you repeatedly challenge your muscles, your bones respond as well. Weight-bearing exercises like squats stimulate bone density, which becomes absolutely crucial after 50. As bone density naturally declines with age, the risk of fractures increases, but the pressure and tension created during a controlled squat helps signal your body to strengthen the bone tissue in your legs, hips, and spine. The wide stance of the sumo squat distributes this pressure safely, making it a reliable way to support bone health without high impact or heavy weights. This means you're not just protecting your muscles, you're building a stronger framework that supports your entire body and helps prevent issues like osteoporosis. The sumo squat also affects how your body produces and uses hormones related to metabolism and muscle maintenance. Engaging large muscle groups stimulates the release of growth-supporting hormones even in people over 50. Your body becomes more efficient at repairing tissues, increasing strength, and maintaining muscle tone. This hormonal response is subtle but powerful, helping you feel more energetic and more capable during daily activities. You may notice that tasks you once avoided because they felt exhausting, like walking up hills, carrying groceries, or doing yard work, start to feel completely manageable again. Your body becomes more responsive to physical effort, and instead of draining you, movement begins to energize you. Another major benefit of the sumo squat is how your body supports your stability as you move through your day. Strong legs and a strong core are essential for preventing falls, which become a major concern with age. Every time you lower yourself into the squat and rise back up, you are practicing controlled movement. You're training your brain and body to work together smoothly. The muscles around your ankles, knees, and hips become better at reacting quickly when you shift your weight or adjust your balance. Even simple daily activities like stepping off a curb, turning around quickly, or walking on uneven surfaces become safer and more secure. You feel more confident in your ability to move without hesitation, and that confidence itself encourages you to stay active and strong. One of the most overlooked benefits of daily sumo squats is the improvement in core integration.
This doesn't just refer to strength, it refers to how your core muscles coordinate with your legs and upper body. As people age, the core often becomes disconnected from the rest of the body because it's not being used intentionally. The sumo squat fixes that. By requiring a braced torso, neutral spine, and stable pelvis, the movement retrains your core to do its job as the center of your strength. This leads to better support for your lower back, smoother transitions between movements, and less strain during everyday tasks like lifting or bending. You begin to feel stronger from the inside out. And then there's the metabolic shift that comes with consistent practice. Because the sumo squat recruits so many major muscle groups, your body starts to burn calories more efficiently throughout the day. Even when you're sitting, resting, or sleeping, stronger muscles keep your metabolism more active, helping regulate blood sugar and maintain a healthier body weight. This is especially important after 50 because the metabolism naturally slows, making weight gain easier and weight loss harder. A simple daily movement like the sumo squat becomes a natural way to counter that shift without extreme diets or intense workouts. It creates a foundation that makes your entire fitness routine more effective. Finally, the sumo squat gives you a sense of control over your physical aging. Every time you complete a set, you're reinforcing that your body is still strong, still capable, and still adaptable. You're proving to yourself that aging doesn't have to mean weakening. It can mean becoming wiser about how you move and how you take care of your body. That sense of empowerment changes everything about the way you approach fitness, health, and daily life. You start believing in your ability to stay active and strong for decades to come. And that mindset becomes just as valuable as the physical benefits themselves.
When it comes to doing sumo squats every day after the age of 50, the single most important element that determines whether you get all the benefits or end up dealing with discomfort is your form. Proper form isn't just a technical detail. It's the difference between strengthening your joints and straining them, between building stability and creating imbalance. As the body ages, the joints deserve more respect, more awareness, and more deliberate movement. The sumo squat is incredibly effective, but only when done with attention to alignment, controlled motion, and proper activation of the right muscles. This is why people who practice it with good form experience smoother movement, improved strength, and less pain, while those who rush through the exercise or ignore their alignment may feel pressure in the knees, tightness in the lower back, or strain in the hips. When you take the time to do it right, the sumo squat becomes one of the safest and most rewarding lower body exercises available for someone over 50. One of the biggest mistakes people make is letting their knees cave inward as they lower into the squat. This puts unnecessary pressure on the cartilage and ligaments, especially the inner part of the knee, which is often already sensitive with age. In proper form, the knees always track outward, following the direction of the toes. This simple adjustment protects the knees and ensures that the stronger hip and glute muscles carry the load. When those muscles do the work, the movement becomes powerful rather than painful. It also helps distribute your weight evenly through your feet so you aren't putting too much pressure on the toes or the inner edges. Over time, this outward knee tracking builds stability and helps correct imbalances that may have been developing unnoticed for years. For someone over 50, this alignment becomes essential because it preserves joint health while still allowing you to build strength. Another crucial piece of proper form is the width of your stance. Many people either go too narrow or too wide without realizing that the ideal stance is one where your knees naturally line up in the direction your toes are pointing. When the stance is correct, the hips open comfortably, the knees bend smoothly, and the pelvis stays stable. If your stance is too narrow, the movement starts resembling a regular squat and puts more emphasis on the knees rather than the hips. If it's too wide, the inner thighs and groin muscles may overstretch, especially if you already have stiffness in that area. With age, muscles and connective tissues lose some elasticity, so respecting your comfortable range is important. A well-chosen stance gives you the freedom to sink deeper into the squat without forcing your body into an unnatural position. This is why people who find the right stance for their body shape and mobility experience less tension and more control.
The position of your torso also plays a huge role in keeping the movement safe. As you lower down, your chest should remain lifted and your spine neutral without rounding forward. Rounding the spine transfers pressure to the lower back, which is one of the most vulnerable parts of the body after 50. Instead, proper form engages the core muscles to support the spine. When your core is braced and your torso stays upright, your hips can move freely and your glutes can fire effectively. This not only protects the lower back, but also strengthens it over time by training it to stay stable during movement. Many people notice that once they learn to keep their torso upright, their squat becomes deeper, smoother, and much more comfortable. This is because the load finally shifts to the muscles designed to handle it rather than the joints that suffer under it. Another element of safe and effective sumo squats is controlling the movement instead of dropping down quickly or bouncing at the bottom. As the body ages, tendons and ligaments become less elastic and more prone to irritation when exposed to sudden or jerky movements. A slow, steady descent allows the muscles to absorb the load gradually. Pausing briefly at the bottom gives you time to check your alignment and feel your muscle engagement rather than relying on momentum. The upward phase should also be controlled, pushing through the heels and engaging the glutes rather than locking out the knees. This style of movement not only builds strength, but also protects the joints by stabilizing them through the full range of motion. Over time, this controlled motion improves balance, coordination, and muscle awareness, which are essential for maintaining independence and preventing injuries as the years pass. Breathing is another surprisingly important factor in good form. Many people, especially when concentrating, tend to hold their breath without noticing. Holding your breath increases tension, raises blood pressure temporarily, and reduces oxygen flow to the muscles that need it most. In proper form, you inhale as you lower your body and exhale as you rise. This rhythmic breathing not only keeps your movement smooth, but also helps activate the core and improves your ability to maintain balance. Good breathing technique becomes even more important as you get older because it supports cardiovascular health, reduces strain, and keeps your body relaxed and focused. The last piece of good form comes down to knowing your limits and respecting them. One of the biggest advantages of the sumo squat is that it can be adapted to suit different levels of mobility, strength, and flexibility. If your hips are tight, you can reduce your depth. If your balance is shaky, you can hold on to a chair or countertop for support. If your knees are sensitive, you can slow your pace or reduce the number of repetitions. Proper form isn't about forcing yourself into a deep squat. It's about moving in a way that feels natural, strong, and stable for your body. Over time, your mobility will increase, your muscles will strengthen, and your range of motion will naturally expand without pushing through discomfort. When you commit to doing sumo squats with proper form every day, the benefits compound quickly. You gain strength without strain, mobility without pain, and stability without tension. Your joints feel supported, your muscles feel activated, and your body begins moving more fluidly in your daily life. You learn to trust your movement again, and that trust shows up in everything you do, from walking and bending to lifting and climbing stairs.